Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this the 21st of Tuesday, the 21st of September 2021. Thank you for tuning in. I got a lot to say today. Okay, how can I be so sure that if the system freezes up, that they're going to fix it in some way? Well, I'm going to get into this. I'm going to tell you guys, politicians, bankers, rich people out there, people think they're stupid. They're not stupid. They're the brightest individuals. That's how they got in those positions. They're very smart, very intelligent. And I'm sure that in their parties that they have and things, the rich people, they go to a big dinner parties and stuff like that where they pay like $10,000 a plate or whatever, that they're sitting around talking right now amongst themselves about these dangers systematic dangers within the world's financial system, and how something very dire could happen. They're also very familiar with what supports them and keeps them in position is the system. The system is the people who are all on the bottom layer of the system who support the system, and the system itself. And every single one of them, the bankers, the politicians, the rich people, they all know it's the system is their baby. It's what keeps them in power. It's what supports them. It's what makes them rich. It's everything to them is the system. They realize that if the system goes down and we descend into some sort of Mad Max world, that their survival is at stake, because they wouldn't do very well. Let's just put it this way: if they had to, if it was a kind of world where the leadership would change to physical prowess. In other words, right now the leadership of the world is all brain power. If it changes to the kind of world where it's all he who has the biggest muscles and who has the most physical attributes and is most able to, a Mad Max type world, they wouldn't survive very well, and they all know it, but at the same time, they're scared that it's going to. They're really scared that it's going to, a lot of them. The first wave of them is understanding this. This is why they're parking all their yachts offshore. If the system really starts to keel over, if we have any sort of a financial freeze or anything like that, they're going to feel more, the rich, the powerful, the bankers, they're going to feel more fear than the average common citizen out there. Yeah, the average common citizen might wake up some morning and everything's closed. Walmart's closed, your bank's closed, your credit cards don't work, and everything else. But they're not going to feel the amount of fear that the rich people are going to feel, the bankers and the politicians and all of them. The fear level that they're going to fear, it's going to be almost traumatizing. Some of them won't even be able to function because they'll be so full of fear. If something happens to the system that supports them, that's dire. They will, believe me. Right now, they're sitting there, the Fed's talking about taper, and the system's running fairly decent. Yeah, we've had a little drop in the stock market. Yeah, there is these Evergrande problems, and yeah, the debt ceiling is overhanging, and the politicians are just business as usual right now, and so you got your conservatives, and they're saying, hey, we're not gonna raise the debt ceiling unless we get some sort of concessions or whatever, and there's this wrangling going on and everything else. But this big crisis situation hasn't happened, and so the fear isn't there yet. Why I'm so certain that they'll do something and that they'll fix it, is when that fear hits. That fear is going to be a motivating force, a very powerful motivating force amongst them, the ones who are in charge. It's as simple as that. So if we have a system-wide freeze, it's going to be a panic situation for them because the fear is going to enter into them all. And it's going to be such a poignant fear, and that's when you're really going to see, a fear trade can affect gold and silver big time, and I'm talking about in the physical. They will suddenly want to fill their pockets with physical, and these guys got the money, the big money. I mean, we've been nibbling at the gold and silver, us army, but we haven't got the money. We're not in that money pool. When the money pool rushes for it, say goodbye, and that kind of fear is what can drive them. It's a driving, motivating. Fear is a tremendous motivating force. It's one of your strongest, most powerful motivators. So anyway, let's get right in there and talk about the markets today. Let's open up let's get our charts here. Just give me a second here. Start the charts right here and take a look at what's going on. The silver price is up 29 cents today at 22.54. Now I want to talk about Evergrande just for a second or two. Told you guys I have a lot to talk about here. Evergrande, this is China's moment. America had their moment back in 2008. And they decided to bail everybody out. All these corporations who didn't have a good model, for making money. Bail them all out, bail everything out, bail, and this is just keeping bad business models in business, and they become zombie corporations. We've went down that road, and now we're a long ways down that road. This is China's moment to decide whether they want to go down that road too, or not, or if they want to not allow malinvestment in their system. I am not so certain that China is going to bail out Evergrande. I'm not certain of it at all. I have a feeling here right now is wait and see, but my inclination is, the way I'm thinking about it is they just might let it roll over. I think there's a good chance they might let it roll over and fall and accept the collateral damage. I know an awful lot of these other ones out there are saying, hey, it's just like it's already done, like China's already going to bail them out or restructure them or whatever. Not necessarily. Hey, I would say to these guys who believe that that's going to happen, I would say, just wait a minute, hold on a second here. And if China doesn't bail them out, think about the ramifications of that to the world's financial system. An awful lot of these big companies in the West, they've bought in shares and stuff like, backdoor deals and stuff that's gone on, and how that's spread. Evergrande is actually spread through the Western financial system as well. If they go down, there's going to be an impact. There's going to be collateral damage. We got that in the debt ceiling, and they're really dragging their heels on that stupid debt ceiling. They run out of money next month. The United States government will run out of money next month. All of these crises could come together at once, and the system, especially the debt ceiling, if they don't raise that debt ceiling in time, quite literally, the system could freeze. Now, I don't think the system's going to freeze if they raise the debt ceiling. I don't think Evergrande will freeze the system. I do not think Evergrande will freeze the system. But I think the debt ceiling, combined with Evergrande, a default on U.S. Treasuries, could freeze the system. And I'm not so sure about them either, that they're going to raise that thing in time. If we get a system freeze, that's going to create the big fear. And if the system and if they don't fix it, they'll have to fix it, and that's going to leave a permanent mark. It's going to change. They're going to change. It'll change all of them overnight. It'll change uh, their attitude about everything overnight. It'll be an attitude adjustment. They'll stop thinking in terms of oh, we've got to raise taxes in order to bring the debt into manageable control, and we got to do this and we got to do that. We got to cut back and we got to tighten and all this kind. That'll all be gone out the window, and they will be into modern monetary theory completely and wholly. Right now, they're on the fence. They got one foot straddled on one side of the fence, thinking, hey, we're going to be conservative and we're going to show restraint and we're going to bring the budgets under control and all this kind of stuff. That's foot on one side of the fence right now, and they got their foot on the other side of the fence. Oh, we're going to make new social programs and we're going to have infrastructure programs and all this kind of stuff. And they're straddling the fence right now. If we get some sort of a freeze in the system, they're going to hop on the side of the fence where they can be the heroes. Because look at it this way: picture the average politician out there. Does he want to be held responsible for the system going down, or do they want to be the hero that supports the poor? And gives them UBI and all the money printing. That they can be the hero. So they want to be the zero, kicked out, and have a Mad Max world where they have to try to survive, or do they want to be the hero in all this? I think I know what they're going to choose. They're going to print more money. When we get down to crunch, when we get down to push, the real thing starts to come together and congeal of what's happening right now. All this conservatism is going to go out the window. Even the conservative ones out there, the conservative politicians who want to try to balance everything back to a normal state, when they see their system starting to freeze or lock up and the fear hits them, they're going to hop on side too. They're going to, because none of them want the alternative, which is something that they can't bear. And they're all going to cave. All of them, even the conservative ones, will cave. And they'll all hop on the modern monetary theory as the answer when the pressure comes on. And the pressure's coming down the road right now. And it's heading toward us right now. The real pressure, And it's going to change the way of thinking, so they're all into the printing business. Making new money, making new credit, expanding the debt. And ultimately, in the end, it's going to lead to your dollar not purchasing anything. But that's going to take a little while. All this is not going to unfold overnight. I mean, the danger that's coming of a system freeze or a deflation, that's going to pass. Even if the system freezes, that'll pass. They'll fix it or whatever, and there'll be more money printing. What's really going to kill us in the end is the inflation. The deflation's not going to kill us because they always have the answer for that. They can always print more money, and they can always kill the deflation. But I'm going to tell you guys what, they can't do much about inflation. If they try to print more money, which is the only tool they have, it just makes it hotter. That's what's really going to kill us in the end. And I'm going to tell you what, the real inflation that kind of destroys our society and our way of living and everything, it's a ways away yet. The closest I could see it happening is probably the latter part of 2022 or probably 2023, And because it's going to take time while the system slowly inflates into a hyperinflation. But that's where we're headed in the end, is the hyperinflation. It's just that it's going to take time to get there. And so we got a bit of time left. I would say that we're going to play these silly games with deflation until the end of this year, and maybe until about March of next year. These silly deflation games, we're until we get down to the real nitty gritty of this, and that's to print endless amounts of money. So if they play the game with deflation, this game of chicken, the deflation's going to win in the end, and they're going to have to print. They're going to be forced to print. Those games will go on until about March at the latest. Next year, we're just going to be moving headfirst into inflation at high rate of speed. There's no stopping it, but it's going to take time for the dollar to become valueless. People are going to use it when it's worth 25 cents of what it is now. They're still going to be using the dollar. When it's worth 10 cents of what it's worth now, they'll still be using the dollar. They'll be using it when it's only worth a penny of what it's worth right now. They'll still be using it. What will the silver price be and gold price? Well, it'll have to be at least 100 times higher than what it is right now, when the dollar's only worth a penny of what it is right now, just to keep up. Right? So can you imagine what that's going to do to savers, though? That's what's coming. That's why you got to think, and you got to say, hey, if I got a lot of money in the bank right now, all those digits on the screen in the bank right now, yeah, we're going into a deflation right now, a little bit. There's these deflation games. I'm going to call them games because ultimately they have the tool to defeat deflation. You got to think to yourself, I need to take advantage of this deflation to not leave that money in the bank until the deflation evaporates and it's gone and we're into the heavy inflation, because then I'm trapped with it. But I've got to use that money effectively as a tool to position myself for the inflation that's coming next year. And it's all about timing, too. You got to find that right spot, because as we deflate now, things might get cheaper. Now, if you're sitting on a lot of dry powder or money in the bank, things might get a bit cheaper, but if your timing's wrong, if you wait too long, you might not get what you want. Because there's another thing. We're headed towards shortages of almost everything, especially food. Silver and gold shortages, yes, and almost everything else, too. I can see coming around the pike. Shortages. As prices explode. The system is shaking and rattling and rolling right now. If this was an enormous tree that stretches up to the heavens, a giant redwood right now, I'm hearing they've been cutting at the stump for days, these idiot politicians, and now I can hear cracks happening inside the stump, these crack sounds. The tree's coming down. The system is going to experience somewhere probably between a 30 to a 60% shutdown of the system. I don't believe the system's going to completely crash, but they're going to try to preserve the core parts of the system, the people who are in charge. But the periphery, they're just not going to have enough resources to support the periphery of the system. So it's just like a person when they're freezing and they drop into the ocean or whatever, and their body's freezing. The extremities freeze first because they can't keep their whole body warm as they're in cold water. The extremities freeze first, but then the core of the body stays warmer where the heart is and everything else, to preserve the system. And that's what's happening with our world system right now. The whole system is they're going to preserve the core. But that's where the power grid's going to still be on. And they're going to have to let certain areas go down because they just can't support it all because of the system is so corrupt. They've pilfered all the money away. They print new money and they pilfer it away, and the rich are becoming richer, the poor are becoming poorer, and the system is starting to, and we got disease, and it's just, the whole thing is just starting to wind down, and it's not going to be able to support the way it was in 2019, where the system supported 100% of the system. You know, now what's going to happen is it's only going to be able to support 70% or 80% or 90%. But what happens to that 10% it can't support? Well, grid failures is what I'm going to call it. You know. And if you're in one of those grid failure areas, you might want to scoot yourself over to a grid up area. This could create a tremendous amount of strife, and it could create a war over food. Who gets the food and who doesn't? I mean, there's a lot of unknowns coming right in the very near future. How this is all going to play out. Anyway, let's take a look now at gold. Rattled away quite a little bit there, but I had a lot to say today. We're up $14 today so far in gold, 1778. Cryptocurrencies, looks like 1898. Let me refresh the page and see which way we're going here. 1893. We're looking at a Bitcoin price of 42,443. I'm going to tell you guys what. Cryptocurrency is going to turn when they turn the money printers back on. Cryptocurrency will turn, but you guys might get a really good buying opportunity. So I'm going to tell you guys what, if you're sitting on that big pile of cash in the bank and Bitcoin price drops down lower, you might want to think about, hey, maybe part of your portfolio can be this and this and this and this and this. You have a lot of different choices, But I think that the person that's going to get the worst of this, the worst beaten, is going to be the person that leaves all of their money in the bank in the form of those digital units. Okay, let's take a look now at the Dow Jones, and it's broken down below 34,000 for the first time in a long time. Now, yet this morning earlier, it was up over 200 points. And I figured it would bounce. I said yesterday it would be over 200 points, bounce. What I was figuring in is all these dip buyers. Here's the thing. The dip buyers were in there this morning. And I warned you guys about buying the dip on this now. And the dip buyers now have got slaughtered. And now the stock market's down 24 points at 33,945. The dip buyers, just for the first time in ages, have got their hands slapped. They won't get their hands slapped too many times before they'll stop dip buying. And then where does the stock market go once we've lost all of our dip buyers? Anyway, there we go at 33,945. Let's take a look now at crude oil, $70 a barrel. It's down 22 cents on the day so far. Everything is definitely starting to roll over and deflate. But like I say, they get the fix for this. It's just that poison, or the fix, China might decide not to take that poison. They might let Evergrande go down. But the West sure is addicted to it. And why I call it poison is, ultimately, that's what it's going to do, is poison the system. But it's probably going to take a couple more years to poison the system to the point where you can't buy nothing with $1. But it's a slow poison. That's what inflation is. It's actually a tax. They're actually taxing you guys. And it's a big tax they're levying. For savers, oh my goodness. For people on fixed income, oh my goodness. Let's take a look at the MOVE index. And I told you this thing can shoot up rather quickly. And it's moving upwards. It's at 59.58 right now. The Fed watches this like a hawk. This is one of the indexes that they watch. If it shoots up too high, then they start to get nervous. But this thing can shoot up really fast if there's instability in the system. This is your stability in the credit market. So I expect it's going to be going up right now. It's not going up as fast as I thought it should be, you know. But that's because everybody's thinking to themselves, hey, you know, Evergrande's going to get a bailout. Who told them that for sure? I never seen it in the news saying that they're going to get a bailout. Have they announced that? Has Beijing announced that they're going to bail out Evergrande? I haven't heard it. Everything I've heard as regard to Evergrande, the only thing you can count for sure on Evergrande that I've heard so far is the fact that they're not going to be able to meet their payment or their obligations or their requirements for payments on their debts that they owe of over $300 billion. That's the only thing I've heard. I haven't heard any real news on a bailout. So don't go assuming, don't go saying, hey, you know, they're going to get a bailout when you don't know it for sure. I'll tell you. So bonds and rates today. We're looking at a mixed bag. Long end is rising. The short end is it's not moving much today. We're looking at a U.S. 10-year at 1.30, and we're looking at a U.S. 30-year at 1.85. Now we're going to take a look at the U.S. dollar index, 93.24. It's actually going along sideways, even though it started to go up just in the last little few minutes, you know, or the last hour or so. It's starting to go up, but it's been kind of going along sideways. If we look at the entry point this morning, where it is right now, it's going sideways. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the very next episode. Bye-bye. Oh, one more thing, guys. Tomorrow you can start sending your pet pictures, and I'll announce it in tomorrow morning's show. You can start sending your pet pictures tomorrow. I'm going to do pets again right away. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.